It is now time for our drunk recap review of The Wheel of Time episode 8. We just watched it. You can go and watch our reaction video on our channel. And now we're going to talk about it. Sam has feelings.
There's Patreon in there somewhere. Go find it. Let's recap. I've given up, as you can see. I've just fucking given up.
Let's start with the cold open.
The cold open was great. The cold open was so cool.
I disagree. I didn't like it.
I liked it! Except for Louis Theron being like a pussy and Latra being very not what this doll expresses. This is Latra Pose de Cume. However they pronounce it. She is...
not my Latra.
She is not my Latra. This is my Latra. This is my Latra. The rest of it...
I think the cold openings have been some of the best, like, parts of the show.
Yeah,
like,
they have been
every opening has been really, really solid. And it's not that this one was bad, it's just that there are a couple of things that kind of just, like, irritate.
It didn't seem right.
The biggest one being that it just kind of sounded like Louis Theron is going to go and take on the Dark One just for shits and gigs.
Yeah, like, there's no, I mean, they're just living in this, like, happy Atlantis world. There's no... tension.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go fuck that up.
You know what would be real fun right now? You know, it'd be real great. Let's just go over and just like fuck with this guy. We'll just like ding dong ditch on his house. That's great. It's fine. But they were speaking the old tongue, which I really liked, and I really liked that I understood some of the words. That was pretty cool. Okay.
Oh, you know you've entered full nerdom when you understand words of the old tongue.
She was like...
I understand words of a made-up language.
Yeah. So don't get on my case when I pronounce things stupidly, because there's no wrong way to say made-up words, and there's no right way to make an adaptation of a beloved franchise, apparently.
Yeah. Apparently not.
The shade of it all.
I'm not mad about the fact that they've made Latra the Tamralin instead of Louis being the Tamralin. I'm a little bit, not much, a little bit, but probably not for the reasons that other people are mad. The reason I'm mad is because Latra was a bad bitch on her own without having
really
to be the fucking Tamralin. And now it's like, oh, now they have to listen to her because she's the Tamralin.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
They just listen to her because she's a bad bitch. You know,
she's
selling her scented candles and her essential oils.
I happen to be an entrepreneur.
Her fucking fragrances that, you know, this one smells exactly like this designer brand, but really it just smells like cat urine. She's doing her thing. She's a boss bitch, bosh, gosh.
I'm actually started online coaching because I don't have to recruit anybody. And also, we conceal me the Dark One forever. So, okay, bye.
I didn't like it just for the fact that it was like, oh, hey, everything's chill, but I feel like I could do this, so do you know what? I think I'm just going to go and do it.
I'm just going to do it. I'm on a journey, and part of that journey is setting boundaries against the Dark One. So, we're just going to do it and see how it goes. And if you don't want to be a part of it, then you're toxic.
So, okay, so cold open happens, and he looks down at his baby, his beautiful little brown baby, and he's like, I'm doing this for you, babe. And she's like,
I don't know what you're saying, Daddy. Because I'm a baby. And babies are stupid.
So, you know, Latra is...
I'm sorry that I ripped our kids in two.
And killed your favorite servant, Drew.
I beat it black and blue.
ILLYENA.
Thanks,
Steve. You make really great music.
We'll drop a link to that.
That is a great song. That is fully worth watching. I was really disappointed that we didn't see Louis Theron being like,
I'm a bad bitch.
because I really wanted to see him just like slaughter everyone and see Itchy be like, you done did that, bitch. And then it ends and we see future Atlantis and we're like, that's pretty cool. I actually really liked that. I liked seeing it. It was basically the way I pictured the Age of Legends. It was basically Atlantis with like flying shit, and that's neat. It's fun.
It was very Jetsons.
Yep,
meet
she is
George
serving.
Jetson.
She is serving Judy Jetson realness and some boobarella and some hardcore like power lesbian bamf bitch, and I loved it. And then she's like, okay, can you please stop bringing your fucking baby to our Zoom meetings? And then he's like, nah. So then the titles happen. So then we go and we're in Mirkwood, and they come across some dead people, and they're like, don't touch anything. Don't touch anything, because people will die. And it's supposed to be blighted. Blighted to me means desert with like an occasional little like scrabbly stick. Also, I wanted to see the dune worm. Like, where the fuck was the dune worm?
Yeah.
Where is the dune worm? They are following the hero's journey. They might as well throw in the sandworm that is part of Carl Jung's The Hero's Journey. So, I've learned that I can't drink champagne straight out of the bottle, so we're putting it in a glass like a classy bitch, but you can tell that I've fully given up. I've been crying for 3 days, even though the show came out yesterday. So, they're in the Blight. Yeah. Maureen's like, don't touch anything, while she's like pushing things away, and she forgets that we're, you know, that the spawn of Ungoliant is gonna come out and catch them all in webs. And then Bilbo finds Sting, and then he cuts Maureen out of the web, and then Maureen gets stabbed through the mouth. And then Billy Zane shows up, but actually he's Nandor from What We Do in the Shadows. And Rand's like, I don't believe you. And then he commits harakiri, because that's apparently a really common trope in this episode, in this whole series, is let's just stab ourselves in the stomach. And apparently...
Inception ourselves away.
Yeah, so apparently it's Inception rules, not Tel'aran'rhiod Riod rules, in which if you kill yourself in the world of dreams, you're fine. So that's great.
But the music was good. I liked the music. Don't judge me for trying to find the positive.
The music was great. That like, blah, 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 that like driving metal, like boom, boom, boom. That was metal. Loved it. There were some
good in the right place.
There were some really strong moments of this episode, I will admit.
Let's just talk about the good and the bad.
Okay, good.
Because I feel like I personally enjoyed it. Okay, hear me out. Like, I know, it's got its problems, and I totally understand why a lot of book readers didn't enjoy this episode. There are things that I didn't enjoy as well. I was entertained. I felt tension.
That is true.
Like, there are a couple of like references from the books which I liked. You know, I think like Nynaeve like saying, I haven't felt anything since I channeled. And I was like, oh, good. Block. And I liked that Lan was like, I will love the man you choose.
I'm really glad they put that in. I'm really glad that that was there. I could kind of see it coming, and I was like, oh, thank you so fucking much for using some of the source material. Like a smidgen of the source material.
Everything Lan says in the books is gold. It is
because
gold.
He only says 8 words, which is the exact amount that a man should say.
But he's like Rumpelstiltskin with a word. He can just spin it to gold. And it's amazing. And I'm just so glad that they actually were like, okay, you know, this guy's going to say like a whole fucking lot. Daniel Henney, I love you. You are gorgeous. And, you know, I thirst after you nonstop. As is evident by my TikTok. But he is very different from the Lan Mandragoran of the books, who doesn't say very much.
Like, Larry Mondragon in this is fine. If I had not read the books, I would have been very entertained. But, so, this is what I took offense to, is that the crew who say, I am such a big Wheel of Time fan. I want to bring people into this world. I want to bring people to love this world. There's so much that you could bring people to love this world by just going off the fucking source material. You don't have to write a new chapter. You don't have to do this whole different thing. The articles I read after this, he was like, yeah, we knew we were going to alienate a bunch of book fans. And it's like, then why did you do it?
There's a reason that the Wheel of Time has sold so many copies.
Yes.
And is so popular and is so beloved. And it's not because of any additions.
No.
It's because of the source
People
material.
aren't
You have
buying
so
it.
much to work with.
Egwene fucking brought somebody back to life. That is literally the point, is you don't bring people back to life. Even if she was just burned out, they portrayed it as if she was dead. And Egwene brought her back to life, and that is just not acceptable in Weaves of the Wheel.
You
Great.
can't-
It's not acceptable
can't
in
heal
Wheel of
death.
Time.
You can't heal death. You can't heal burnout.
No. You can heal stilling because it is a clean cut. You can heal
Yeah,
gentling
it's
because
like
it
if
is a clean
chop-
cut.
If you chop your finger off and it's in a nice clean piece, you can go and have that shit stitched back on. But if you put your finger into a shredder
You're not
and
going
your
to put
finger
the
gets
finger back on.
shredded, you can't get it back on.
So-
and that's the difference between severing and stilling and burning out. That's the difference.
Yes, and you can see it. They know
And
the
it's not a
difference.
difficult
They know
concept.
the difference between stilling and burning out because they made it visible. So clearly you know the difference. You understood the assignment and you purposefully fucked it up. And I'm really mortally offended about that.
I am going to say something positive. Why am I Miss Positive today?
It is a new it's a new turning of the wheel. It's not the real thing. It's just a different turning of the wheel. That apparently it's okay to be completely opposite land in Bizarro world and Batman's actually evil.
I really liked the fight upon the seal. I think that was really cool.
It was just
The way
Egwene's
that-
accepted test though.
No, not the accepted test bit. I'm talking about the fact that they had a fight on the seal
That's fine.
and that it broke the seal.
Yeah, that's
because
fine.
that kind of then I could, that's like a visual representation of the seal
Yeah.
breaking, and they've come out and they've said they want to do 8 seasons.
Yeah, there
There's
you go.
7 seals
8
on the
seasons.
Dark One's prison, right? There's
Yeah,
7
one-
seals on the
one
Dark One's
seal
prison,
per
and then
year.
a final battle in 8th season. So
That's fine. That's
If
fucking
every-
source material.
I'm okay. Yeah, I liked that. I thought that was
That's
really
an
cool. I thought that was really
adaptation
cool.
that is taking
I
actual
really
information
enjoyed that.
and putting it into an adaptation. That
I
is
really-
acceptable.
Yeah. Another thing I loved. I know we're gonna go back to the like burnout, the thing, the linking, and I've heard some people say they don't like the linking because
I
you
actually
can't burn
liked
out
that.
in a link. I really liked it though.
I
I'm
liked
with that
how-
change. It's a minor change to me, and that's a good example of changing something for an adaptation.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
really liked it, and the way they just like the power came down and just like nucleared out.
Yeah,
into
and
this,
you
like,
could see
mushroom
that
cloud.
you could see the strength difference between them. Like Annalisa just had a little trickle. Nynaeve had
Yeah.
this like flood. That's
like
fine.
like 4 big thick ass weaves like ooh going through. Oh,
You know what
yeah,
I actually was okay. So this sounds like I would not be okay with it, but Moraine being the one who was stilled, I was actually okay with that. And I know you say that she's not stilled, but
I don't think
Rafe
she's-
Judkins said that she was truly stilled. And I don't know what's going on, but I will.
Where did he say
I will
that?
accept
I
that.
missed that.
So there was an article and he said, yes, she's stilled. And I got this third hand from somebody. So don't, take it with a grain of salt. But so Moraine, if she was stilled, I'm on the fence. So there's one aspect that you pointed out that is she, or the Dark One kind of did like a little knot
It was
in
like
his
a
hand.
shield that
It was a
went over
shield,
that,
and we
then he
saw
had to, like,
Logain
knot his
gentled,
hand.
and the power like fully went out of him.
Yeah,
and that
whereas it
didn't
went
happen with
inward
Moraine.
on him.
So there's the one hand that like, okay, it's just a tied off shield, and she's like, I can't feel the source. She never said she was stilled. She just said, I can't feel it. And Lan's like, oh, I'm sorry, bud. And then there's the other one that says, yeah, sure, she's stilled. Honestly, I would be okay with that because we've had so little interaction with Swan that I think as
It would be
Moraine
more
being
impactful
stilled
for Moraine.
than if Nynaeve heals her, spoilers, if Nynaeve heals that stilling, that we actually have a little bit more emotional depth too. So I'm actually okay with switching that character because it's still
Yeah.
the essence.
I saw it as, spoiler for sort of the early books, but Leandrin, Moggy is like pissed off with Leandrin and shields her.
Yeah.
and ties it off in such a way that, you know, Leandra
You
isn't
can't
even
get
really
out of it
aware
until
that she
Mogi's
has-
dead.
that she's not even aware that she has a shield, just that she can't get to the power.
Yeah.
Like, it's there, but she can't get to it. So I felt like that was...
So the other part that I mean, you know, I'm gonna watch the second season. You know, I'm still obsessed with this. I still love the world. I still am really into it. An article that I saw, there was a Q&A, and it was like, we put a lot of things in because we need them to pay off in the next season. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but you still have a lot of dangling, you have a lot of like things hanging that you wrapped up really clumsily. The Heron Mark Blade, Rand's existence as a whole, nobody cared about Rand until literally right now. Like, you could have done better. You could have written it better.
You did round it, yeah.
There's this thing when you're writing that they say, when you're writing, take off the last like sentence of your paragraph and it makes it much more punchy and much more interesting. They never did that. They never did that.
That could be said even for this episode. Like, I enjoyed episode 8. I think it's one of the stronger episodes of the season. Come at me all you want in the comments. I don't mind.
It was cool.
This is I felt like this episode fixed things that were bugging me in other episodes.
Yes,
and I appreciate
but it should have been done better.
Music, the music being one, the music helping to build tension in those moments was something that was lacking in so many of the other episodes, and I never felt connected to the moment.
Yeah.
And I did in this. When I was watching it, I was like, oh my god, you know, I could feel like my heart going boom, 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 in time with like the music,
that
the
was
drum,
cool.
and that's what should be happening. So I really loved that. But again, even with this episode, it's like they should have just taken the end off. Not the Seanchan bit, we'll get to that, but like the bit with Egwene and Nynaeve.
That was
like
unnecessary.
I really enjoyed this episode, and if it didn't have that fucking thing on the end, it kind of just pisses over everything else.
Yeah. Okay, so what were your problems with that specific scene? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to agree with you. That it was so off canon. It was so out of what is appropriate for this world. Let's hear your reasons.
I don't mind if things go off canon, and I don't mind if they change the story. What you have to do is you then have to fill in the gaps in between. So if you're going to change something, you've got to fill the gaps.
You got to explain it. You got to show your work.
It's got to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to say, okay, you can now heal death, that's fine. You want to do that? That's fine. However, Nynaeve couldn't do it, but Egwene can.
No.
And I have a big problem with that, because if what you're saying is that Egwene is a better healer than Nynaeve, you're also kind of saying that anyone can heal anything, and that makes the Yellow Aja redundant, which pisses me off no end.
Yeah, my
because
precious
you
yellow.
know she Yellow Aja. So like that fucks me off. That annoys me.
The
and
only
also,
thing I see them doing is in all of the episodes, I see a little bit of each Aja, and I see Egwene taking a little bit of each Aja. And that is the only parallel that I see, but you could do that so much easier. It's like,
Oh, I'm a healer now. Oh, I'm a battle mage now. Oh, I'm a seeker after causes.
like, I'm not... I agree.
Another huge issue for me with it, and this applies to Egwene, but it actually kind of applies to every female character in this show so far. And it's to do with the fact that they kind of just made Egwene a Mary Sue with that. And it cheapens her character. And I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to make this whole, like, you know, feminist movement. I'm a feminist. I get that. However, there's a line where you go into it being cheap. And I feel like it's crossed
She
that
can't
line
do everything. She needs to have limitations.
And she shouldn't have to do everything, because the thing that relates us to these women, the thing that related me to these women, is that they had weaknesses. they had their problems, they had their flaws. Nynaeve was the character I related to most of all. She had an immaturity.
She was
forced to
flawed
grow up
and
too fast.
frustrating and difficult, and
she had an
a lot of people
issue.
don't like her.
But these characters, they overcome this. Egwene isn't a good healer, but that doesn't stop her from being the badass that she is.
Yes.
It's like in spite of that. But what you're saying is that a woman has to be practically perfect in every way to be strong. And I don't like that.
It's not
That's
okay.
problematic.
Nynaeve has her problems.
and it pisses
Egwene
me-
is so flawed. Egwene has the worst fucking taste in men. She fucked Rand, then she fucks fucking Gawain. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, who hurt you
Egwene-
and why didn't it stick?
Egwene has so many fucking issues. She is annoying.
She's
as
not.
fuck.
She's too
That's-
trusting.
That's what we enjoy about. She's pompous as hell.
Yeah.
You know, she
I want to
thinks
see
she knows.
that. I
She's
want
like-
to see
she's
how
like,
human they
I
are.
spent a day with the IL, and now that basically makes me an
I'm
IL.
basically a wise one.
Yeah.
It's so great.
But that's the thing that we love about her character is that
Because
in
she's the
spite
childish,
of that-
stupid little brat that we love.
And because this show is water and shade, and like you said, 96% shade, 4% water, just to fucking throw over the burns that we have to throw. I'm gonna say this, there are so many fucking content creators out there who are stifling anyone who dares say that they're cheapening the female characters in this show because they are doing this.
Yeah.
And it's irritating me as fuck because the majority of them are white men. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, because you actually have no fucking adversities whatsoever. We actually know what we're talking about. We know that these women were important to us because in spite of these things, they were boss bitches. Like, for fuck's sake, like, none of us are perfect, and you're basically saying that we have to be awesome. I don't like it. I don't stand for it. That's the biggest thing that pissed me off. And I could have done without that scene.
I have never
you for
been more
coming
in
to my
love with
TED
you
Talk.
than I am right now. Just FYI. That was so perfect. Like, that, it just summed up everything that I felt about this. That Egwene does not need to be Superman. Superman is my least favorite superhero because he's just fucking
Yes.
perfect. And I don't like that.
Besides Henry Cavill as Superman.
But I don't like
I
Henry
don't care
Cavill
for
as Superman.
Superman.
I like Henry Cavill as the fucking Witcher. Nobody likes Superman. They like the fucking Witcher.
Nobody likes Superman. Every girl likes Batman.
You like Batman.
There's a fucking reason.
Yes.
There's a reason,
You
sis.
want that flawed.
There's a
You
reason.
want that, like, yes, I'm a bad bitch, but I also have terrible taste in men. And I also make really stupid, childish decisions about the people I surround myself with. That's
And
me.
it doesn't matter. It still means that I can be badass.
Yes.
Because
I am a
because
bad
you think
fucking
there's a
bitch, and I have terrible
Have-
taste in my friends. Except for you.
Have you? I don't think it's a deliberate message. I do not think it's a
No, I
I
think
just want to
it's-
go on record as saying this. I think Rafe Judkins is trying to do something, but I just think the message is coming across in the wrong way. And
It's
I would like
too
to
far.
see that.
They're trying to make everybody Arya. Like, they're trying to make everybody an Arya Stark. And it's like, sometimes you're a fucking Sansa.
Yeah.
Sometimes
And
you're
Egwene
just
is a
not
Sansa.
that cool. Like, we
Egwene
can't
is a
all be
Sansa.
that cool. Yes!
Sansa is literally based off Egwene. I'm telling you, I read Sansa's character and I was like, this is Egwene.
Yeah.
This is fucking Egwene. George R. R. Martin says his favourite series is The fucking Wheel of Time. Of course he
course
based
it is.
Sansa on Egwene.
Because, yes, she's really cool. Yes, she does
And
a lot
what
of
does
really great
Sansa
stuff.
end up as? Queen of the fucking North, bitch.
So,
And married to a Jonas brother.
yeah.
I mean, I was a little bit too old for a Jonas brother. Given me a Hanson brother and we would have been talking. But if I was a few years younger, that maybe would have been a thing to me.
I agree. Like,
I'll take that.
that's what I really liked about Wheel of Time, is that everybody's flawed and complex. And I'm not saying that. Rand, his only personality trait that we've seen in the show is that he's obsessed with Egwene. Great. Good for you, bud. But it's like switching this common narrative. Like, that's the typical thing. Is like, your girl is always just, I just love him. That's all I care about. That's why I love him. And I did like that they were trying to change it around, but instead of doing a 180, they did a 360. They just switched the genders. And it just was weird. And it was, I appreciated Rand, like, recognizing this isn't about me. This is about her. Yeah. She wouldn't want this. I know this isn't real. Egwene and Nynaeve needed more depth than, oh, we're just superheroes. We're just the Mary Sue. We just are fucking Superman. Like,
it's so easy for us to channel, you know.
It's just like, oh, it's okay. I don't want that. I like low-powered channels.
And these are the characters that you love. These are the characters that you go, okay, I understand.
You're somebody I can connect with. I didn't feel connection that I should have with these characters that I've connected with for so long.
Robert Jordan's magic system in The Wheel of Time is one of the best magic systems in fantasy.
Absolutely.
There, I said it. And you do not need to fuck with something that is already perfection, i.e. Billy Zane as Ishara.
That is the tea. That is the absolute fucking tea right there. I am
unnecessary.
The worst part of this episode was that Billy Zane was not a Shamael and they cast fucking Nandor as a Shamael. But I just, what I'm really offended by, if I was watching this just as a show, I'm kind of watching it through the eyes of like my dad who's never read the books. He's really into it. He really likes it. I'm like, that's wonderful. As a book reader, I'm more offended by the fact that they said, yes, we're going to piss off a lot of book readers, but we're going to deviate from the source material so that we can get people to like the books. It's like, no, the purpose of this show that I've been holding on to for so long, I'm getting like fucking emotional thinking about this. The fact that I have been so into this and been like, hey guys, you need to read this book. This is a really great book series. And nobody listened. And I said, hey, I'm going to wait for the movie or the show to come out. The show will bring people in and then they'll read the books and then they'll get me. I will get that connection. And then they went so far from it. And it was like the point of the series was to bring people into this great, wonderful, complex, interesting world that, yes, it's very flawed. Yes, it's very complicated. But it's to bring people into my world. And they deviated so much that I'm afraid that people aren't going to read the source material now because they're going to say, oh, this deviates. They're going to read Eye of the World and say, this isn't what was in the show. Yeah. And then they're going to be pissed and they're going to say, oh, I'm not going to read this anymore. And that's going to cut off my connection with other humans.
You shouldn't be alienating your core fan base.
Yeah. No, like, I understand bringing in new people, but this is like offensive. You have so many people who are so deeply immersed in this world, and that this is the only thing we have to connect with people.
The early seasons of Game of Thrones did not deviate that far from the source material.
Harry Potter didn't deviate. Lord of the Rings Fellowship, aside from dumping the best character, Tom Bombadil, like it was very on point. They were able to make an adaptation and cut things and still remain true. And watching Lord of the Rings made me say, I gotta read these books. And now I can speak fucking Elvish.
I know at the end of the day, success is measured in consumption.
Yep.
And the consumption of the show has been there. Yeah. However, I do feel that the consumption has been from the core fan base.
This isn't the story that I fell in love with.
I have not seen people on my Facebook talking about Wheel of Time like I would see them talking about Game of Thrones, or see them talking about Witcher, or see them talking about Squid Games, for example, which was, you know, a recently successful show. I have not seen memes outside of the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, the fan base was because you had so many fans. Like, they reached out to us saying, hey, you're content creators, you're fans, can you come and help us with some events this fall? Like, yeah, I went to Denver. I went and help make this premiere happen with all these people, and like I was really excited about that, and I was like, I'm part of something really big. And the fact that they just said, okay, well, you know, we're gonna piss you off now.
I think it'd be less hurtful if it wasn't, you know, we've got all these quotes previously of saying, oh, you know, we love the books and we're going to stay so true to the book material. Yeah. And then it's like,
if you had said, you know, this happened in Prince of Persia. I love the game Prince of Persia. I played it 1,000 times. I watched my brothers play it. I love that story. And they said, we're making a Prince of Persia movie. Okay, that sounds super cool. I love that story. That's great. And they said, we don't have the rights to the full story. We're going to take it in a different direction, but still use the same characters. I was like, fine. Be honest about it. Say, I'm not going to follow this story. Don't tell me for years, for fucking 2 fucking years, hey, we're going to stick close to the canon. We're going to say, we're going to do these specific things to make sure that you guys are taken care of, that your emotional well-being. Do you realize how many fucking neurodivergents are obsessed with Wheel of Time? We cannot handle these changes. We cannot handle change in general. Don't fucking throw in, we're going to ruin your fucking series. It's really messed up. And it's like, yes, if you're gonna go your own direction, just come out and say that from the beginning. Like, guys, this isn't gonna be what you're expecting. Be ready for it. But it feels like a bait and switch. If I was prepared, I'd say, okay, it's Prince of Persia. It's The Hobbit. They're putting a random elf in there. Okay, fine. I can still get into it. I still got into The Hobbit. I was like, oh, Keely's really hot. Tauriel's really hot. I can get into this. It's totally off canon and it's garbage, but I can still get into it because they didn't tell me from the beginning, oh, this is going to be exactly like the fucking Hobbit. So I don't know what to think anymore. I'm trying to see it as somebody who's never read the books, and I can see, like, yes, this is a really interesting story.
This is the thing that bothers me the most. If the non-book audience was really enjoying it, then I'd be like, okay, fine. You know, maybe I'm just looking at it through book eyes.
Why mess with perfection?
But the problem is that I've had a couple of people watch it and either have already given up after a couple of episodes because they just weren't hooked.
Yeah. Or
they have said to me, oh, I continued watching it for you, but I don't think I'm going to watch season 2 because there's nothing that's really pulling me in.
Yeah.
And
that's what you get.
When you're not hearing any positive feedback from someone, I only had one person say to me that she was really enjoying it.
Yeah.
But that was like around episode 4 and she has not.
And that was when it was still good. When you were still excited and had hope.
She's been radio silent since then.
I do accept, like, yes, there are some things that are in the books that we can't translate to a new demographic. That's fine. You know, the constant spankings and the talking Trollocs, sure, cut it. But don't pretend you're trying to appeal, like, just be honest and say, I'm trying to make this for me. I'm trying to expand the world that I like. The broader audience would have liked it as it was. You didn't have to change this much. You didn't have to alter this fundamental core of what this world is. And you still would have gotten the same number of people. And you're like, there's a difference between saying, yes, the hardcore people, the people who are just anti-adaptation, they're going to be pissed no matter what. But like, people like me who can appreciate an adaptation, who can say, yes, you did do Deadpool dirty in the Wolverine movie. Like, I can still accept that and say, oh my god, it's Deadpool, I love you.
Yes, I didn't like the way they wrote Deadpool, but I thought the actor...
I know they can do better.
Did the best that he could with the material. And actually, that's kind of what I feel with the Wheel of Time as well. I feel like every actor in it has been
They were true to the character that was written for them.
With the material that they've been given,
yeah, they've
done really, really well. I like Daniel Henney a lot, but he's not Lan Mandragoran.
No.
I really like Egwene a lot, but she's not quite Egwene. I really like these actors. I really like what they're doing, but I don't feel like Zoe Robbins blew me out of the water. I feel like her Nynaeve
she's beautiful.
Was something I was
she's
not
perfect.
Prepared for. She was so good. But there's just a couple of little things that
she's not right. It's not quite.
No, it's not her. It's that they haven't been written for her.
Yes.
And that's where the issue is.
The problem isn't with the channelers who channel. The problem is that the taint is in the source itself. There is a taint on the source. And I think I'm going to issue a challenge to anybody who watches this show that if you can cleanse the taint, this whole world will be a whole lot better. Because this is a taint on the show. That the source has been tainted.
To end it on a positive, let's talk about the Seanchan. Because
The Seanchan were so cool though!
I just...
That
Literally
regimented cheerleader movements and the gags. I was always kind of like, okay, how's the leash gonna work? Because it has to be like a pretend leash. But that gag, that was so cool.
That feels worse.
That feels...
And it feels even worse,
organic.
and I love it.
I
It's
hate
like
the
we are
Seanchan already.
Yeah, it's like it's not being collared, it's being silent.
Yes! You're like, you
And-
are no longer a person. You
Yeah.
are an extension of me. You no longer exist. You know what it is? It is behavior therapy, and I provide behavior therapy. It's behavior therapy that stops people from stimming. That is what it feels like. It's like you have this special gift, and we're going to literally channel it so that you fit into our world, and you are no longer allowed to be yourself. You are now a demone. You are leashed. You are silenced. It is so Seanchan.
I mean, they were on screen for like 2 seconds, but
That was Wheel of Time. That was
They captured.
That
they-
was a change that was acceptable. You can
This
take
was a
away the
good
leash.
one.
You can turn it into a gag. That is a beautiful change. I'm okay with that. I'm
And
not
it's hot.
I'm not averse I'm not averse to changes.
I'm not averse to changes. I'm just averse to changes for the sake of changes.
Yeah.
Like, if you're changing something and it doesn't improve the story, then why do it?
This has been Water and Shade. I have clearly given up. Zoe is still beautiful, but we will see you in the new year for some more fantasy adaptation reactions, some various nonsensory, and just a lot of talk about fantasy series that we love, and we still love Wheel of Time. We still are a part of this world. We're just very disappointed, but that's not to say that you can't change your behavior, because behavior change is possible with the right interventions. Consider this your intervention. We love you, Wheel of Time. Please do better in the next year. And until next time, may you always find water and like 96% shade, because that's what you deserve.
That Jeff Bezos is one of the most terrible human
Jeffrey Bezos.
beings
Come on,
in
Jeffrey, you're a